Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is expected to make a decision by tomorrow on whether or not to release 6 years of the president's tax returns. Democrats vowing a legal battle if he does not abide with tax law that says he shall provide the Ways and Means Committee with any tax return requested. Let's bring in Xochitl Hinojosa, Communications Director for the Democratic National Committee. Also, Brian Darling, founder and president of Liberty Government Affairs. So a big welcome to you both. All right, so Xochitl, we'll go ladies first here. So if Mnuchin does not comply, do you expect Democrats to stick to their word? Is this going to escalate in some sort of a court standoff?
Potentially. It's Congress's responsibility to conduct oversight. It's very simple, and they have subpoena power. So I think that you will see Democrats take steps in order to make sure that they are doing their job. It is very simple. We want to know what Donald Trump is hiding. I think that the committee is authorized to do that, and I think we'll see in the coming days and weeks what Democrats will end up doing to make sure that they get Trump's tax returns.
So this new article in the Washington Examiner, Brian, it says that the president is gambling that he can stall Democrats' tax returns demands. It can go past the 2020 election. So do you think turning this into a court battle plays right into his hands?
Well, yeah, but I also think that it's wrong for Congress to try and use their power, their oversight power, just to help whoever the Democrats are going to nominate in 2020. When you look at the law does say that Congress has a right to get tax returns, but that doesn't include the right to get them to disclose them just to help for a partisan purpose, to help a candidate.
No. Wait, Brian. Is that why it's being done, or is it because people believe that the president's hiding stuff? That he may have things in his tax returns that show he has not been telling the truth about his financial standing. I mean, isn't that why they're doing it? You really think they're doing it to try to help support a Democratic presidential candidate in 2020?
Well, they clearly don't have the right to get his tax documents just to disclose them to the American public. That's not the purpose of the law. The purpose of the law is to get tax returns, to do investigations, to find out if they're going to change the law.
How about to get tax returns to find out if something illegal or untruthful has been represented?
Well, that's not the role of Congress. Congress does not have that oversight role. The oversight role is not unlimited. They can't just go on a fishing expedition, yet another witch hunt to go after the president for the purposes of embarrassing him. That's not the purpose of oversight in Congress.
So to that end, Xochitl, you have Secretary Mnuchin who's arguing Democrats they risk undermining the privacy of all taxpayers. And he's also suggesting, look, there is no legislative reason for releasing the president's tax returns. And he's echoing something of what Brian is saying there. Here's what he writes, quote, exposure for the sake of exposure is never a permissible purpose of congressional inquiry. So, Xochitl, is that a fair assessment at all, that this is exposure merely for the sake of exposure? I mean, what are the Democrats looking to specifically uncover with this request?
Well, we have had Republicans in power, and they haven't done anything to do oversight. And now Democrats are in power, and they're doing their job. They're doing what they were elected for in the first place.
Are they overreaching, though?
They're not overreaching. You can do oversight based off of a presidential audit. The IRS is supposed to do a presidential audit, and that is what they want to make sure that the IRS is doing. And so this is within their means. This is not a campaign issue. This is something that our government must do. They should be looking at Donald Trump's tax returns. Now, they can do that within the committee, and that is their legal right. But it is ridiculous. Like exactly what you said. What is Donald Trump hiding? And that we don't know. And so I think that's exactly what you're going to hear from Democrats over the coming weeks.
What about the recent Washington Times article, which is highlighting how more than a dozen deep blue states, they are trying to keep Trump off the 2020 ballot because of his tax returns. But the questions being asked is whether the president would just say, so what? I mean, Brian, would it ultimately matter if Trump is left off the ballot in states like California, Hawaii, Illinois?
It wouldn't matter at all because he's not going to win California. He's not going to win Hawaii. I can make that confident prediction right now. But it is clearly this is a partisan effort. And think about our taxes. I just filed my taxes recently. And I think all Americans believe that that's a private system. We give it to the government voluntarily, and the government's supposed to keep that information private. They're not allowed to disclose that, and if they are, and it's happened a number of times where tax officials have looked at private information, usually of people in Hollywood that they're interested in or in the music industry, and they end up going to jail or get fired. So it is illegal to disclose information because of the purpose that we keep that information private. We have a Fourth Amendment privacy right to that information.
For sure. But, Brian, do you ever wonder why the president doesn't release his tax returns as every other candidate since Richard Nixon has done?
Well,
I mean, candidate, not even an elected official, candidates. Do you ever wonder why he doesn't do it?
Of course. I mean, I, like every American, is interested in what's in President Trump's tax returns. I think it's natural to want to know what's in there. But there also is a balancing of interest where he has a right to privacy, too. I mean, all these Hollywood people, I want to see their tax returns, too, but they have a right to privacy. So I think that there's a balancing of interest. And if we do go too far and disclose the president's tax returns, then we're going to have a whole new standard with regard to people's taxes that I don't think the American people would be comfortable with.
Okay, let's move from taxes now to 2020. As we look at a piece in the New York Times, it's pointing out how Joe Biden is taking on Trump while also extending something of an olive branch to Republicans in general. Some of his fellow opponents are not agreeing with this approach. So, Chil, do Democrats want a bipartisan deal maker, or do they want a partisan warrior?
Well, you're running for president of the United States. You're not running for the president of the Democratic Party. And so we need to make sure that we are reaching out to Democrats, independents, Republicans, everyone. There is a difference between, going out and reaching and talking to all voters and not holding Republicans accountable. And we need to hold Republicans accountable. Lindsey Graham is someone who is up for re-election, and we need to make sure that he is voted out. But at the same time, we must talk to all voters. And I think that you are seeing Democrats do this across the country, running for president, crisscrossing the state, talking about the issues, or the country, talking about these issues, talking about the economy, talking about health care, and that is how we win.
What about, Brian, you have Biden and you have fellow Democrats, they're disagreeing on how to take on Trump, but the president seems to have his attention just on Biden. Is this the proof that the former vice president, may be doing something right, that he's getting under Trump's skin, and that's the guy he thinks he needs to focus on?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that Joe Biden is going to be a formidable candidate if he wins a nomination. The big question is, are Democrats going to embrace democratic socialism, or are they going to embrace a more establishment candidate? Or is Joe Biden going to have to embrace democratic socialism to get the nomination? So it's going to be very difficult for Democrats to figure out which direction they're going to go in. But no doubt, Joe Biden's a strong candidate, but the jury's out on whether he can even win the nomination with the party lurching so far to the left.
So, Chil, host Brian Darling, great conversation, guys. Thank you so much. I was kind of tough on you, Brian, but I appreciate you being here. All right, guys, thanks. Thanks for having me.